Welcome back. I am Ryan Bailey, and it is August 24th, and it is time for the weekend review. As usual, we start from the top down with the weekly TPO. And first and foremost, we had an insane pump on Friday from Jackson Hole FOMC. It launched us 100 points in a matter of minutes when Powell come out and basically insinuated that there was going to be rate cuts. It's interesting to me because that was already priced in, but apparently they just wanted to hear him say it. And when they did, it launched. And so we are extremely close to making an all-time high once again. There is a strong possibility that that is going to happen, especially because the all-time high that we had was made in Globex. And so as we sit up here, we are basically not too far away from all-time highs at this point. We're actually less than, looks like about 20 points. So that's where we closed at anyway. So let's talk about this weekly TPO. Again, this weekly TPO is very much in balance. However, I want to point out one thing, and it's not really the end-all be-all, but I did notice that we actually have a pretty bad lower distribution on this. So something I'll be looking at for future reference, not something I'm looking at right now. One of the biggest things that caught my mind here actually was the previous weekly value area high at 64.62. A lot of stacked blocks here, guys. This means this is a significant make it or break it area for intraday or intra-weekly above below. And I do believe that it is possible that we could pull back into one of these bigger areas down here, which has a lot of volume, which will absolutely be a magnet. I'm actually not too sure about this one right now, but anything can happen, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the candlestick charts. Okay, so we have some support right here at 64.62. That's pretty obvious. We have a lot of activity here, as you can see. Can't really see it there, but they absorbed 4,600 cars at that price point. And we have some actually 4-hour, 1-hour levels here. And this area was extremely significant to us when we were over here. If you recall, we were talking about how they needed to break to the downside if they got below, I believe it was 64, 63 area, and they ultimately did. So with that being said, this kind of puts us right in the same spot with the 64, 62, and we're going to be monitoring for above or below this area. Now we've got a ton of buyer activity up in here, and I do believe it is possible to go up and see a new all-time high. We've also obviously have a poor high up here as well for the weekly, and they will end up fixing that at some point when they make a new all-time high. What we did actually is we ran all the way up to 64.9675 and bumped our head on the previous daily that was untested to the high lost. But again, as we talked about many times throughout the week, the 4-hour and 1-hour had lost support, but the daily had never lost. And so technically the high time frame was still up, the daily, weekly, and that's really what we resort to. And so it is still up, guys. It is still very much up, and so we were looking for more up. So I wanted to point this out to you specifically for a couple reasons. One, below 62 is going to be our, let's call it intra-week or intraday above-below support area here that I'm looking for, kind of a make it or break it spot just for the interim for bulls and bears to kind of take over and pull back. If we do pull back, I like this 30 to 25 spot. Like it a lot. I'll show you why I like it. Not only was there a lot of activity here, but there is actually some significant support here. There's a daily level and a couple 4 hours, and our weekly is there as well. If you guys recall from last week, we had 64.3175. That was a big level for us, and that's the same spot. And the weekly is actually at 64.25. So great area to look at. All right. Now, if they do end up pulling back into the previous weekly POC down here, which is possible, we'll see what happens. We do have a lot of seller absorption down here, and so these guys will be looking to either re-engage or get out. My assumption is initially they would want to get out of this short position that they're stuck in, but if they get down here, they're going to struggle to get back above this area here, which I'll show you when we get over to the candlestick charts. So let's get right into it with those right now. So here we go. So we got our weekly RTH. As you guys know, I look at the RTH chart because that's the session I trade. We still have our 64.25 area right here. It's very much untested on the daily time frame. As you can see, we have not tested it from the top down with a wick yet on the ETH or daily ETH. I'm sorry, the RTH or the daily ETH. So this is very much an untested level. We do have this 64.31 daily here as well, and we have this 25 as well. And then really what is super important, which I was making notes in the room for everybody on Friday, what they did essentially, let me go ahead and just hide these other drawings. We have another daily leg up, guys, right here, 64.13. Many of you know who were Substack subscribers, we talked about how important it was to be above or below 64.12. This was the short that we took on Thursday that paid big, paid 50 points. And then it was also a make it or break level for Friday with FOMC, or not FOMC, but Jackson Hole, which I said if they get above 12, we go to 25. They get above 25, we basically go to the highs. And they did. They came all the way up here and played this daily at 64.96. So, you know, again, I would normally say, oh, they didn't gain, I'm not interested, but we never lost. So with this being said, here's what's interesting. If you guys recall, I was drawing the legs out for you last week. This is going to be very important for you here, okay? Actually, let me go ahead and pull this one down too. This is the daily leg up. So we have this leg here, and before this was made, now our legs go like this, okay? So the big major daily leg now is at 60, well, this is our major daily leg at 62.68, but the next major leg for us to hold is 64.13.25. This will more than likely get a great reaction. I'm looking to buy this, no question about it. But what we do need to keep in mind is if we lose this daily, they are in trouble because there is nothing else untested, and they very well could come down to 62.68. They ended up playing the lows at the 63, 64 area really well. Obviously, this kind of kept us going, and we held the lows on Friday. For those of you guys who were following along in the Substack, as you know, on Wednesday, this was our low, and then on Friday, we actually came down and retested it in the Globex, and that was a big concern of mine for more up. I said, hey, listen, they held the lows, and they could pop this, and they did, okay? So with that being said, this is a major inflection point for us. So if we close below these significant dailies here, and then, this thing is massively tested, and so we could come down. But, I mean, ultimately, this is the buy spot, guys, because this is our new daily leg up. So if we pull back in here, this is a great buy. And in my opinion, we really kind of got to buy all the way from 64.31, and we got the weekly at 25 into the 13.12 spot. There's really no question about it. And when we go into the smaller time frame, you'll be able to see all the structure here. Here is our 12 daily, here's our 31, and then obviously here's our 13. So this is a pretty fat area of support. It almost looks like they're never going to come down again, honestly. But who knows? I mean, so historically speaking, we do know that September is our weakest month. So anything is possible. We still have another week and a half of basically August, or 2 weeks until we get into September. But that doesn't necessarily mean that September is just going to be all red. It's just historically one of the weakest months of the year. So for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with that, please check out the post and the Substack, all included in this, regarding seasonality trends. I've talked about it. It's in the room under the education section. And I encourage you all to check that out because these things are cyclical. It just happens that way. It's no reason or rhyme or reason behind it. Well, there is a rhyme or reason, but it's just one of those things that we have to, get used to. And again, it doesn't mean that they are set in stone. For instance, sell in May and go away was terrible this year. We had a monster year. And so you would have missed out big time had you followed that rule. But over historical patterns, that is a generally good rule. So like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that September is going to be weak, but historically, that is how it works out. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move over to the 4-hour time frame. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's our 4-hour, guys. As you can see here, let's just start at the lows. So this is the 64. They came down, they played it on Wednesday. We were able to, actually we were in the short here. We played it on Wednesday, they popped up and they hit our 25. They drifted down all night. On Wednesday they popped up, we shorted 12, we brought it all the way down. Okay, great trade. Then the middle of night, they came down. So this is the 64, popped up, right, came down and played this leg perfect. And then this was the Jackson Hole meeting right here. And this is where we essentially opened up, or pre-market open. And this is why we were concerned with shorting this day, basically saying, hey, if they pop 12, we go to 24. And I actually shorted 27, I think, and I ended up getting, I don't know, 12 points or something out of it on a couple cars, and then they just ripped. So with that being said, we knew that they got over 31, we were coming all the way up, and they did. Now here's the issue, or it's not even an issue. This is that previous weekly value area high. This is that low volume block in gray. Okay, now we have a fat 4-hour zone here. We have our top of the leg at 68.50. We have our middle of the leg here at 64.65, 75, and we have our bottom support at 64.59, 25. It's basically 10 points. Okay, we have a 10-point zone of support. I would stop out below 64.54 if I was to take this, but I do see this area holding on first touch. There's also the VWAPs from last week are right here as well, and this is very much support that we saw play quite a few times, and it actually comes from over here, and so we've held it. You know, we came down, we played it. There is a good possibility that they will play it again, but getting back underneath that brings us back down into, and actually let me just hide this stuff here. There you go. Now you can get a better idea. So, you know, you can see this upper, middle, and lower area here with the stop, okay? So moving lower, we've got this 27 here, we've got 18 and 12, okay? We know that 12 is monster. You can see the 18 played quite a few times, and 27, all right? 27 also played very nice. This is what I told you I was short on Friday and ended up pulling it back to 12, okay? This was a good level, and it did play very nice from the bottom up, and I'll just show you. Here. Here it is. Bang. Right? Went out, played it, and then pulled it back to 12. That was it. And it just went crazy as soon as Powell got on the mic. But the reason that I'm pointing that out is because what is once resistance becomes support. And so we had all these areas over here. Look, it played here at 25 and 27 played. So we pull back into here. It's going to be important. And also, as you can see, we have some singles in the weekly profile that come down to, or I'm sorry, in the daily profile. This is from Friday's action, actually, come down to 29, okay? So right in line with our levels here, and this would clean up this profile. We also had that big weekly absorption area that I was telling you about, right? And that's all in green. So, and that runs us right into our 25 weekly. So this area right here is fat, right? So, I mean, you can see smack here. Oops, sorry. You can see we had a smack here at 31, smack at 25, smack at 18, smack at 12. Right, and so this whole area is legit for a pop. Now, the stop on this is ridiculous because if you get in here, it's hard to stop out because you still have these massive daily legs up at 12.13. You got all those 4 hours in the middle. I would probably have to stop out somewhere down here, which is pretty brutal for a lot of people. It's around 90. Let's just call it 95, and you know makes for a difficult trade if you're working with a smaller account. And so you just have to size appropriately for this because this is a great area. I mean, it really is. But we never know if it's going to happen. So here's what also the other thing that I wanted to point out, okay? So if they get below this area, right, if they get below 12, we know how hard of a problem it was to get back above that. So we have a 4 hour at 92, and we have our last 4 hour at 81. Can these play? Absolutely they can play. Absolutely. And as you guys know, I pointed out to you before, we had that massive weekly absorption down here, right in line with this. We also have a previous weekly POC from last week. This is a highly confluent area, monthly VWAP, etc. My only concern, and I'll just be frank, I mean, if they get down in here, if they do this number, whatever, getting back above 12 and 31 is going to be a bitch, right? And so I would be super concerned if we went below 12 by too awful much. I would be concerned that we couldn't get back above it. And like I said before, a daily close under 12 is not good, like really, really bad, because we know that this is all tested, okay? So if that's the case and they get back below this, we could just slip all the way down. Obviously, it won't be like that. It'll be something like that, but whatever. I mean, you guys get the point. So that is my main concern. And then really without kind of getting too much into it, we talked about, and I didn't mark this, but we talked about this leg end at 55.75, right? We wanted to see this get played on Friday or even Wednesday. Never got there. I would be very cautious taking this trade now. Okay, to me, this trade is sketchy now because this thing popped well over 100 points from our area. The only way I would take 63, 55, 75 is if we pull back into it and get back above 64 and start to show some promise, some acceptance, then I would get long. I will not take this on first touch, not even interested, just personally. All right. So the other big area that we've talked about multiple times is this 4 hour down here. Okay. And actually, let me go ahead and just remark these dailies. So a quick note real fast, I forgot to mark the dailies down here at 63.20, 63.23. We talked about multiple times how these have played. This was our touch here, took us to all-time highs, came back, swept the low, played 63.20, took us all the way back to all-time highs. This is going to be a huge above-below line in the sand for us. We need to keep track of this level. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because as we work our way down lower on the 4 hour here, we see that we have this 4 hour that we've talked about multiple times last week. It's been on all the sheets. We have this 4 hour at 63.20.75. And one of the reasons I like this level is because it not only is it like the lowest leg in here, right? But we also have the ability to pull a failed breakdown off of this 25. So if we start to come down, we play 63.20.75, I'd like to see it come down, play the 63.20.75, get back above 25.75 with some acceptance, and start to push up. And then we'll start to take profits at some of our more significant areas. We have these dailies here at 44 and 48, which is also a naked point of control. We'd have to take profits here. And then we start to target 55 and obviously 63, 64. I mean, what a monster, okay? But one of the things that I like about this 20, and we've talked about it many times, is we had the dailies, the super significant dailies that took us to all-time highs multiple times at 63.20.25 and 63.23.50. Okay, so this 4 hour at 63.20.75 lines up perfectly with the daily at 63.20 and the other daily at 63.23. So if we play the 20 and we get back above the 23 daily and ultimately the 25.75 pivot, this thing's going to push all the way up to 44 at least, 44, 48. So that's going to be a nice 20 point, 25 point trade. And it could go a lot higher to 64. I don't know how high it'll go. Okay, so with that is out of the way here, and I think the next thing that we really need to focus on and talk about is this weekly area down here. So, you know, if we make it all the way down here, which we don't even know if it's going to happen, this area right here is just a monster. We have these weekly areas here at 63.02 to 62.94, and then we also have the weekly leg end at 62.68 that is also the daily leg end. Okay, if both of these could play right somewhere in here, this is a major spot. We got the 50-day moving average, would not surprise me at all. We have all this congestion in here. We'd obviously want to see continuation over 20 if these 6,300 areas play. If not, if we slip lower to the leg end, which would be the more ideal spot, and they hold this, we want to see continuation back over 6,300. Okay, and that's the long from 62.68. You want to get back over 6,300, and then it's go play golf for a while. All right, so that's it. That's all I have. That is the trades. That is the 4 hour. That's how it looks. I'm pretty much giving you guys all the setups. We're still up. We're still cruising. This thing's still going. You know, like look at this 50-day right down here with these weeklies. It's beautiful. And then obviously the 62.68, we got the 3-day composite POC down here just waiting to be tested. I mean, this thing is just still going up. I mean, it really is. I mean, this is, you know, we've got, I don't even know what I'm doing here. There we go. Sorry, I never used that tool before. And then, so, I mean, this is our leg right here. This is it. And so if I'd like to see a new high first and then pull back and play this area or even this area, and then we look for a new high again. That would be the most ideal scenario. If we were to pull back here, I'd still take it. I would absolutely still would take it because we never lost. And so that is kind of what I'm thinking here, guys. We are still up. You can short if you want. I wouldn't. You know, if you were shorting, I would just be looking for either scalps, you know, maybe from under here to here. But that would probably be about it, or from here to here. I really wouldn't be wanting to short this thing very much until we actually lost on the daily time frame, because we just gained on the 4 hour again. We're already up on the daily. We gained on the 1 hour. We haven't lost on any time frame now. I mean, we are so up, it's ridiculous. Crypto's up. You know, things are up. Market's looking up. And so do I think it's going to last forever? Of course not. But right now we're just trading the chart. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you guys with that. Oh, that's not true. I have one more thing to talk about. VIX. So I was eyeing VIX, right, because this is our vol regime. VIX got blasted. I mean, just absolutely annihilated, down 14% on Friday. So I'm like, okay, this thing can't go down forever. Every time we get down in here, we start to get pops, okay? So here is the VIX area that I'm looking at. There's a nice daily leg after this sweep, and there's a beautiful shoulder here. I'll show you. See this shoulder right here? All right. So this is a nice shoulder here. So we've got a nice shoulder and a daily leg all lined up together at 1359, okay? 13.59 or 13.57, same thing. And really, I'm looking for this area to really kind of get some love. If not, we have an untested weekly down here at 12.77. It also is in line with a previously tested monthly that is super duper important. That's why it's in red, okay? And what we want to see it get above is this weekly here at 14.85. We've talked about this weekly many times as it's played these areas here. We've always known that this was the above below. We got above it last week and we squeezed, and we played this monthly and we're coming down. So now the 1485 is still technically untested, but if we get back above it and we hold it, we can move up nicely. One of the things that I wouldn't be too overly concerned, because we still have an untested monthly at 1565, but you never know what happens when they squeeze. You just never know. So, getting back above this 1485, I would start to be a little cautious as far as vol, and I would be looking for a reaction around 13.59, because if this thing starts to pop a little bit, it could pull our indices down. And so, maybe it plays this area and pops up and smacks from 1485, and maybe that's our long somewhere, is when this comes down, ES goes up. I don't know. I'm just simply giving you the levels that I'm looking at on VIX, and knowing that this can't come down forever. What are the areas that I'm looking for a reaction? Well, it's 13.59 and 12.77. This is just a monster leg. We've been down here for, every time we come down here, this thing gets a pop, okay? Like every time. So I wouldn't be too surprised if, we start to, continue to move down a little bit more and the market grinds up a little bit. But once we get down here, this is cheap vol, man. This is super cheap. Like, from a average perspective, I mean, if I pull out and look for you guys, I mean, how many times do we come down here? Look at this. And we pop. I mean, just so many times we get down here and this thing goes. So, don't overlook this low vol regime that can change very fast. So that's all I got for you guys. We're going to stop there. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday for those of you in the room, and on Tuesday for those who subscribe to the Substack. Cheers.